Hello, hello, hello. Tonight we are talking about the pleasure gap. So forget the thigh gap and what Kim Kardashian said on the red carpet about having to starve herself to get into that Marilyn Monroe dress. We are going to talk about the gap that you really don't want to have in your life and that how we can close it. I'm Tiffany Yelverton. I'm the Chief Sexinista and Orgasm Guru for Entice Me and Sexy Survivors. I am passionate about insane sexual confidence, the pleasure, getting the pleasure you deserve in your life, closing the pleasure gap, the orgasm gap, and the wage gap. So we're going to talk about that tonight. If you can't hang out for the whole time, make sure you save this video on your page so you can come back to it later. And if you have a friend that needs to hear this, make sure you tag them and invite them to watch my videos. Let's see. I love talking about this subject because it is so important. It is Masturbation May. Probably gonna get flagged for saying that on here on Facebook, but it's so important to know what good sex does for your life and getting pleasure in your life and what that really does. And so today I'm going to talk to you about the pleasure gap. I'm going to tell you what that is, how we can close the pleasure gap, and why I think it's so important. So if this interests you and you are one of those women out there that maybe isn't having the orgasms of your dreams and struggles to get there, maybe you're just bored in bed, make sure you book one of the calls that I've opened up for you in the next week or so. There's going to be a link up in the title and there's one down below, and it's a power of pleasure call, and we're going to talk about how you can get more pleasure in your life. Again, tonight we're talking about the pleasure gap instead of the thigh gap. So what is the pleasure gap? The pleasure gap is the difference between how much orgasms the genders have. So men tend to orgasm a lot more than women. And on their last sexual encounter, I think this is really interesting statistic, that 64% of women said they had an orgasm on their last sexual encounter compared to 91% of men. If it's a first time encounter, Lori Mintz from Becoming Clitorate, and we can talk more about what I think of that later, that book. But 4% of women orgasm compared to 55% of men on their first encounter. I'm going to tell you in just a minute a little bit of story on how you can fix that, because you can. It's so awesome. And I had a partner that really helped me with that. Hold on, I'm gonna just turn off these notifications. And I want you to book a call with me if you are just tuning in and you are a woman who would like more pleasure in your life. You'd like to get out of your head and into your body and be able to have mind-blowing orgasms every single time. And I want you to think about what that would do for your life if you had an orgasm even 90% of the time, and maybe you're having them 50% of the time, how much better your life would be. So make sure that you click the link in the title or down below and book one of those calls so that we can go through the orgasm experience and show you how you can become part of my tribe, because I am opening up the enrollment to the orgasm experience. My camera's all wonky today. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the orgasm experience and the pleasure gap. I am opening up the enrollment for my orgasm experience course. I'm going to be teaching it live for the first time in a long time. It's usually just recorded videos. And this course is especially for women who are dissatisfied with their sex lives. If you're bored in the bedroom and you want more pleasure, maybe you're searching, especially, I should say, if you're searching for that elusive orgasm upon penetration, the ones like you see in the movies. I call it Hollywood passion. Wow, my hair is wacky. And you can get those orgasms. I'm going to tell you that because I used to never orgasm at all, and now I have orgasms, multiple orgasms, pretty much every time that I have sex, whether it's a first-time partner or someone I've been with for a long time. So the story I want to tell you is that I was in a really bad narcissistic relationship, and I thought that I wanted more sex, but I really wanted better sex. I would ask my partner, and yes, sex was good. He was very well endowed. It was passionate. We were in love, but the communication was not there, and the sex just wasn't doing it for me. And I didn't even know that I hadn't had an orgasm. I just thought I wanted more sex. But when you're satisfied, you're on a different level. And so I'm going to tell you a story about one of my current partners, and we've been together. Actually, I just saw him yesterday for the first time in a couple of years because there was a pandemic and I wasn't being too risky out there. And when I first met him about 4 or 5 years ago, gosh, it's probably been 5 years. One of the first things when we were just talking about meeting was that he said, I need lots of touch. I just want you to know that, and if you're not okay with that, then this just isn't going to work. And I was like, wow, that is really awesome that he just came out and said what he needed. I'm like, why don't I do that? So I've developed questions that I ask potential lovers, potential dating partners, things like that, to make sure that we're sexually compatible before we even meet, because sex is very important to me and it's a very important part of life. And if you are just tuning in, make sure you say hi and tell me where you're from, but put a comment down if you ask for what you want in the bedroom, and know that it's okay if you don't, because we never were really taught what to ask for. But that made such a big difference in knowing from the get-go what he really needed. And we had a great time last night, but what was really the best was that I just knew that he needed touch, and I just touched him for hours of us just laying there talking and touching and napping afterwards. And it was just really, I think after coming out of the pandemic, we all need more touch. And I know that we both were very satisfied, and he didn't even have an orgasm. So, we were both very satisfied when leaving last night. And so communication is really key. And I see new people are tuning in, so thank you so much. Tonight we're talking about the pleasure gap instead of the thigh gap, because there is a big differentiation between how many orgasms men have and how many orgasms women have. Before I get into some more tips about that, if you are just coming on, make sure that if you are looking to get more pleasure in your life and you want to have those amazing orgasms like you see on TV, those penetration orgasms, those spontaneous, simultaneous orgasm, make sure that you schedule a call with me. I'm going to put the link in the title, and then I'll put it also down in the comments. I am opening up enrollment to the Orgasm Experience, and you won't want to miss this round. It is the best course. I mentioned Lori Mintz earlier. She wrote Becoming Clitorate, and what I think is a disservice to women in that book, it's got lots of great statistics. She's a professor, brilliant woman, but she said that she's never looked for her G-spot because the clitoris was good enough. I don't know about you, but I always want to get the most pleasure that I want, and there's lots of places in our vagina that we can have different types of orgasms. And I find that with a lot of courses, And my students of the orgasm experience have said that this is the first course that they've ever taken that talks about vaginal orgasms and doesn't just talk about the vagina as a reproductive area. So we get into foreplay, communication, we go through the orgasm trifecta of mental and emotional, biological and physical, all kinds of things that you need to have the most orgasmic life possible. So when you click that link to book a call to learn more about this, I'm going to show you how good your life can get. And after you click the link, it's going to take you to my page where you are going to apply. Click the button that says apply now. Then it's going to take you to my calendar link. You're going to be able to choose the time that's best for you. And then we're going to send you an application so that I can get the most information from you before we start, so that we can just talk about orgasms and pleasure on our call, and I don't have to have all the background information because I'll already have that. And then we're going to have a conversation about having amazing orgasms every single time that you have sex. So just think about that for a minute. What would your life be like, and what would it feel like if you are fully pleasured every single time, every single encounter, not just your last encounter, but every encounter going forward, if you were fully pleased? One, you'd have a lot less stress in your life, and you wouldn't be settling. I think that that's the biggest thing when I was talking about my ex, is that, and this was an ex in my early 20s. I was engaged once back then, not since. But I would ask, finally learned how to ask or show him, and he just kind of wasn't interested in what I needed. And all I needed was a little bit of clitoral stimulation. But at that time, I didn't feel comfortable touching myself. I wanted him to do it, and he just wouldn't. And I was settling for less than I deserved. And so it is about communication. And even, we aren't taught how to communicate about sex, and it's taboo, and we've been taught that it's shameful in our lives, especially for women. So just have your own orgasms so that you can find out how your body works, so then you can communicate it to a partner. If you're not getting there and your partner has an orgasm and then says, oh, it's finished, no, let me show you how you can finish me off. Let me show you what this is gonna look like, whether you bring toys, your hands, shower massager, whatever you use. I want you to make sure that you're getting fully pleased. So I mentioned earlier, not just the pleasure gap, but the gender wage gap. And this is a gap that we can close really fast when we self-pleasure more as women. Men self-pleasure 23% more than women. Might even be more than that, but statistically. What's the gender wage gap? For white women, it's 81 cents on every dollar. 20% there, 20 cents. So have more orgasms, have more pleasure in your life. It gives you confidence, sexual power, and you own the world. Men know that. They know that sex is power. Why do you think the patriarchy has repressed women's sexuality for so long? Because we will rule the world when we have our own sexual power. So I just want you to think about that. How would you feel if every single time that you were in a sexual encounter that you were fully pleased? You got everything you want, and hopefully your partner did too. If you're not getting that and you would like to, make sure that you book a Power of Pleasure call with me. I'm going to put the link up in the title, put it down in the comments as well. And we are going to talk about getting you everything that you want and how it will change your life. My clients make more money, they own their own businesses, they're badass, and when you own your own pleasure, no one can take it away from you. You're self-sufficient, so anything else that comes along, that's like frosting on the cake. Don't forget to book that call. I hope that you are having a great evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.